People of Kakamega who voted me in as their senator with more than 300,000 votes. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker, to the Speaker of the Senate and to the Senate membership in general, including the staff who have made our work a stunning success. Mr. Speaker, in particular, I want to thank fellow senators who have allowed and supported me in the discharge of my responsibilities as the Majority Whip. Ladies and gentlemen, colleague senators, I thank you. Mr. Speaker, sir, to the people of Kakamega, I would like to address them on the following issues. 1, Mumias Sugar Company, the sugarcane growing sector, and the sugar industry. 2, infrastructure in Kakamega, and Kakamega Teaching and Referral Hospital. And finally, Mr. Speaker, on the matter of housing and Kakamega Airstrip. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we all know, the sugar industry has gone through very difficult times. Farmers of sugarcane continue to endure difficulties that are very well known to all of us, ranging from the high cost of farm inputs, expensive labor, low payment per ton of the produce, and difficulties in accessing harvest permits, not to mention corruption within the sugar industry. Mr. Speaker, I have fought against all these challenges with the support from some of our elected members of Parliament. I am glad to inform you that the future looks bright. I want to thank Butali Sugar Company and West Kenya Sugar Company, who have been accommodative of some of our demands and requests for betterment of the sugar industry. I also want to thank Mr. Sarbirai, the new investor of Mumias Sugar Company, for the zeal he has demonstrated for revival of Mumias Sugar Company. He has put the nucleus estate under Ken, and on 1st of this month, the new investor in Mumias has started crushing Ken. We are indeed grateful. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, for his support in stamping out cartels from the sugar industry and writing off the debts amounting to 117 billion shillings that was owed by sugar companies. Therefore, allowing the companies county further resolved together in the Shukusa area, a position that was presented to the President through a memorandum. I refuse to be part to this misadventure, given the tortuous process of acquisition of land from forest to pave way for the airport. And I am afraid that the future of the airport now remains bleak. Mr. Speaker, I would like to assure my people that the fight is not lost, and to reiterate that he who fights and runs away indeed lives to fight another day. I thank you, Dr. Boni Khalwale, Senator of Kakamega County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me, while still on my feet, to make a statement on the death of the former MP for Bungoma South constituency and MP of Kandui, the Honorable Lawrence Sifuna. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 52.1 to make a statement on a matter of national and general topic of concern, namely the demise of former Bungoma South and former Kandui Member of Parliament, the Honorable Lawrence Sifuna, who passed away on Saturday while undergoing treatment at an Eldoret hospital. Mr. Speaker, we are seated here as a Senate, being a product of decades of constitutional reforms that can be traced to the relentless fight by our second liberation warriors in the 1990s and the 1980s. Mr. Speaker, these men and women risked limb, and property to demand greater freedoms free speech, and sustainable constitutional order that could protect our democracy. Without them, Mr. Speaker, we would probably still be under one-party dictatorship with an emasculated parliament. When the roll call of honor of these great sons and daughters of the struggle for freedom will be unleashed, I dare say, Honorable Lawrence Simiyu Sifuna will without doubt take his place of pride. Mr. Sifuna is survived in this House, Mr. Speaker, by his nephew, the distinguished Senator of Nairobi, Edwin Sifuna. Mr. Speaker, I note a lot of Kenyans have kept abreast with the political history. Will certainly remember the famous phrase of the 7 bearded sisters that was coined by the former Attorney General, Sir Charles Njonjo. Honorable Njonjo was referring to an indomitable cast of parliamentary firebrands and debaters, which included the honorable members and of the following creed: Lawrence Sifuna, James Orengo, Abuya Abuya, Onyango Midika, Koiki Omwere, Chibule Watsuma, and Moshengu Mochofi. What may not be clear to many today is that this name was based on 7 members who were uncompromising in their stand when national issues came up to the floor of this House, where they were fearless, principled, and defended the people. This group sowed the seed of liberation that would germinate in the restoration of a multi-party democracy in 1992. There is no gainsaying that the contribution of Honorable Lawrence Simiyu Sifuna was an integral part of this. Mr. Speaker, outside Parliament, Honorable Sifuna was a certified public accountant, a farmer, and a perennial defender of sugarcane farmers' rights. Sugarcane farmers are much poorer today without him, as indeed his recent absence from the public scene has coincided with the decline of the sugar sector under the weight of mismanagement and corruption. Mr. Sifuna is dying in shame about Nzoia Sugar Company.
Out of the country, and then they list national assets and put them for sale. Mr. Speaker, sir, we want to urge these leaders who sit near the high offices that it's important to know that it cannot, and we cannot accept them, to put such an important national heritage like the KICC for sale. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want today to add my voice. I want to join the likes of Lawrence Sifuna. I want to join the likes of Koigi Amwere, that we cannot let a few people take it for granted that they can do or live what they want to do in this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is becoming quite unfortunate that a few individuals, Mr. Speaker, sir, whom we've worked with so hard and promising the Kenyans that will ensure the cost of living comes down, Mr. Speaker, sir, instead of them working with us in tandem, they are going and auctioning anything that they can lay their hand on. This we must stand as a House and oppose. Mr. Speaker, sir, today I want to start in the same spirit of Lawrence Sifuna and say this country belongs to all of us. It cannot take our parents so many years to put things where they are today, and then we get to here, Mr. Speaker, sir, people bought edible oil that is toxic. They spent billions of shillings. This cannot be sold. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is time that we call these people and tell them enough is enough and they must stop. Yes. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is such a moment when we are given an opportunity to reflect on the things that are happening in this country, that we ask ourselves, are some of these people serious? Mr. Speaker, sir, just the other day, I led a statement from none other than one of our colleagues who's been sitting in this House, a Minister of Infrastructure and Transport, saying that centers, cars that have been bought by hustlers, that they should be banned from the road. Mr. Speaker, sir, I ask, are we losing our senses, Mr. Speaker, sir? When must we realize that we must work for Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the same spirit of Lawrence Sifuna, I want to tell Kenyans that yes, we must stand up and we will not let anybody take advantage of you. We are going to pursue justice until we bring it to the logical conclusion. Because this is the spirit, Mr. Speaker, sir. When we are gone like Lawrence Sifuna is gone, we want somebody to stand in this out and say, he stood as a senator and stood for the justice of the people. I start to be counted as those who will fight for the justice of the people, irregardless of the people who are pushing and waiting. Only when the president is away of the country, they put national assets for sale. It is unacceptable, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I urge my colleagues to stand up and oppose this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Eddy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, it's a solemn day, and Mr. Speaker, first of all, may I take this opportunity to pass my sincerest sorry to my colleague, my friend, my mentor, and indeed a leader who has really guided us in the side of the opposition side, Senator Sifuna. I know it's a very, very tough moment because I understand where he has drawn some of his strength in terms of how he sees the world. And indeed, they say the apple does not fall far away from the tree. We have seen the character that Sifuna brings in politics, not only in this house, but also in the country, that indeed there is somewhere that he fetches it. But Mr. Speaker, you know, being a young person in this country and reading books, left-wing politics has been one of the hardest politics to be in, because left-wing politics is indeed related to defiance. Left-wing politics is related to being against the system always. But also left-wing politics can be about being able to stand for social justice, being able to stand for economic equality, and being able to fight inequality in whichever form that it comes within our borders. And these are the characters and things that represent Honorable Lawrence Sifuna. Because if you read history of this country, Mr. Speaker, we stand today in a very strong democracy because of the giants that came before us. And I wish that that spirit can be able to inspire us, that indeed, when it comes to left-wing politics, we can be able to stand and have a country where ethnicity cannot be the functional equation for being able to employ others. Mr. Speaker, our country today, you will find that two tribes are grossly overrepresented in terms of employment. And these are things that Lawrence Sifuna did fight against. Mr. Speaker, today in Parliament, we find that the vibrancy of Parliament is extremely compromised, simply because the tenets of democracy, which includes being able to separate the idea of executive from Parliament, is completely compromised, because today Parliament becomes an appendage of the executive, to the extent that parliamentarians that have been sent into these two houses that we see today, the Senate and the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, are hugely compromised, bending laws to the executive, Mr. Speaker. Some of the laws that we have passed in this house, in the Senate, Mr. Speaker, that are against the spirit of devolution, have been passed because we are constantly inclining our politics to the politics of being compromised by the executive, Mr. Speaker. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I want to say, and I want to celebrate my leader, Raila Amolo Odinga. I know that I will not bring him into this, but I want to celebrate him in the context of the idea that democracy does not always mean that even if you lose elections in a number of times, then you give up. I say this because in the early 1990s, Mr. Speaker, Lawrence Sifuna went back home after being affected by a lot of Mlolongo movements and still won a number of elections that inspired generations. And I hope that we can learn from him, and as a people, being able to start fighting for electoral justice as one thing that this country has never been able to solve, even as we go on with the elections that we are going to have in future, even after the talks that we have had, the bipartisan talks, that the hardest thing that we have been able to crack, even in the talks that have just ended, is the issue of electoral justice. And I hope that the spirit of Lawrence Sifuna will inspire the topmost leadership of this country, starting from the president to the deputy president to Vigogo wa siasa, as the Swahilis will say it, to be able to solve one issue that can unite this country, that after an election, Mr. Speaker, a country can sit back, that anybody who loses will lose genuinely, and anybody who wins will win genuinely, and people sit together and build a nation on the tenets of a functional democracy that has been elusive to this country for years. May the soul of Honorable Lawrence Sifuna rest in eternal peace. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Methu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I think I want to join my colleagues. I want to support the statement that has been sought by, or that has been read by the...
If I'm not wrong. And he's an accountant, international accountant, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, if you look at history, those people who are gone, I think they decided to fight for this country, but not for their stomachs. If you fight for your stomach, if you fight for yourself, you cannot fight for the country. It cannot go together. You either choose to eat or choose to fight for this country. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Senator Matinga talked about the oil. If you can remember, Honorable Speaker, I brought a statement to this Honorable House 5 months ago. And I had all the documents that shows that this oil, the government has lost billions of money. And so many people thought that this guy from Marsabit, what is he talking about? But today, they know this guy, the senator from Marsabit, is talking about money in billions that are lost under a deal which is supposed to reduce the cost of living in this country. Instead of reducing the cost, Honorable Speaker, instead of reducing the cost, a few people sat in a hotel in Dubai and exaggerated the price to the tune of 30%. Those oils now, cans and drums, are laying in over 11 godowns, and it can be sold. Honorable Speaker, 2 days ago, KEBS had a certificate that shows that this same oil was declared unfit for human consumption and should be returned to the sender in 30 days' time, within the 30 days. If not, the government will take responsibility. The responsibility will go to the importer, but the entire consignment will be destroyed. And that consignment is going to cost the people of this country billions of shillings, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would want to urge these distinguished senators, let us not talk about issue of which party you come from. Let's talk about this country. Let us put our country, Kenya, and the people of this country as our #1 priority. Because what is happening now, Honorable Speaker, people are very uncomfortable about the issues that is happening in this country. Honorable Speaker, the way I am seeing, we are heading back to the Nyayo era. Why am I saying so? If you look at when the president is away, you've seen people have decided to sell properties that belong to the people of Kenya. The property that is being sold belongs to the people of Kenya. The government is just holding brief for Kenyans. It is not the government, it's not government property. It is the people of Kenya who owns whatever is in this country. Honorable Speaker, I talked about, some months ago, I talked about the property, Pakistan, in Mombasa. As we speak, Honorable Speaker, that land is gone. The people of Kenya have lost billions of money. I also want to thank Honorable Halwale, who also contributed to the issue of Pakistan. And Honorable Speaker, you know, some people forget our Honorable Halwale, who is here, that he has also contributed a lot to this country. But because he's alive, these people, you see, Honorable Speaker, they will start talking after he has died. They say, oh, he's good, he's like this and this. Let me say today, the people I mentioned earlier is also amongst those people. He has contributed heavily to this country, and of late, he has started being very neutral. This is what we should be, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm seeing something, Honorable Speaker, in this country. There is a trend that it is our time to eat. Honorable Speaker, can you please ask Cherargei to...
Order, Senator Boni and Cherargei. Senator Chute, your colleagues are on queue, so kindly conclude, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Now, let me conclude by saying, let me give my sincere condolences to the family and friends of Honorable Lawrence Sifuna and my colleague here, Senator for Nairobi City County. Asante sana, thank you very much.
Senator Professor Jenda. Senator Olekina.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I'd like to join my colleagues in eulogizing a true left-wing politician, someone whose contribution to the public service will be remembered because of his unwavering dedication to fighting for the rights of those who are underprivileged. Mr. Speaker, when I was growing up, the late Honorable Lawrence Sifuna played a critical role in shaping the life of many people in this country who went against the status quo. When he was fighting against the government policies, when people could not dare do that, when he was criticizing the former Attorney General, who was very, very powerful, the late Charles Njonjo, in terms of policies that we are witnessing today. Mr. Speaker, I would say that it is the spirit of the late Lawrence Sifuna which is now troubling us. It is the one which is making us restless, such that you can hear my good friend, my chair of energy, criticizing a government which he helped form. Mr. Speaker, it is important and it is imperative that we remain committed to fighting for those people who have given us an opportunity to be seen, to be able to represent them in this august house. Mr. Speaker, my good friend, the Deputy Minority Leader, stood up here and he said many things. And for me, I just want to remind him what the Bible says. The Bible in Timothy 4 verse 12 says that let no one despise your youth, and the youth should be allowed to explore their life, even to keep the kind of hair they want to keep. Mr. Speaker, when we stand here now troubled by the spirit of the departed soul, the late Lawrence Sifuna, when we are talking about all the challenges, you know what is so hypocritical, and allow me to be as candid as I want to be, is that I'm seeing my colleagues from the other side of the aisle criticizing policies of the government which they advocate on a daily basis, and they would not even dare say, thank you, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, for going to court, to stopping this menace, this culture of trying to line your pocket to a point where you think when finally you depart, you will go with all the assets that you amass in this world. Mr. Speaker, what is ailing this society now, this country? I'm telling you, I don't even know why we should stand here and all of us just blame Ruto. No, it is the legislators who passed those laws. All the challenges we're going through, it is us. Can we please bring a mirror and look at the mirror? And you look at the mirror and you say, if KICC is sold, it is me to blame. Because what is Ruto? He's the president, yes, but you are the one who will give him the power to sell it. So I think we should stop lying to Kenyans and to be honest, and now with the spirit which is troubling us, of the departed soul, a true left wing who fought for the rights of the people who suffer. Let it continue troubling us to a point where we will say no. Because they're the ones who shaped the future of this country, really. They are the ones who started fighting about liberation. Mr. Speaker, it saddens me a lot to see most of us stand here, whether you're Jewish, whether you are Hindu, Christian, or whatever religion that you profess, to stand here and start blaming someone, not knowing that it is you, it behooves you as a person to be able to leave this world a better place. Today we are being very spiritual, and today I'm being extremely spiritual. But in Psalms 116:14, the Bible says that I will pay all my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people. So I think it's about time now we start asking ourselves, what is enough? Is our salary enough? You know, we've talked about the issue of the oil. And what people don't know is that our financial institutions, especially the ones which are partly owned by the government, are being brought down to a halt. When a government pushes a financial institution to open a letter of credit for 20 billion shillings, and then what happens? They import the oil comes here, it is frozen, and then the manufacturing companies which were manufacturing it before, who were told what you are manufacturing is substandard, are now forced to buy. You know, the problem is this, we don't like being honest. They are being forced to buy so that they can reprocess. No wonder people say, what is happening in this country is that we are slowly killing ourselves. We are now, in fact, when I was coming in, I saw a small clip of someone saying that, listen, we voted for a government that will slowly kill you by, you spend most of your time taking care of yourself. You go to clubs, you avoid getting HIV, but then you go home, you buy oil that will give you cancer. But don't worry, you can borrow from the Hustler Fund, 500, to be able to do what? To go to the hospital. But no, when you go to the hospital, there are no medicine. So you die, you forgot that you don't have 1,500 shillings to be able to buy what? To pay for your death certificate. You leave that problem to all your neighbors. You know, people speak sense. Mr. Speaker, this spirit which is making us restless today, of left wings, I want to beseech my brothers, my dear brothers from the other side of the aisle, and even some who are on this side, who believe in just selling and just supporting every policy that comes in without thinking about the consequences and the other unintended consequences. May the spirit of the departed, Lawrence Sifuna, as he rests in eternal peace, as he leaves us in this country where we've decided to rape it, we've decided to destroy it, may it trouble us to a point where we will wake up from slumberland and remember that we must be our brother's keepers. I want to hear my chairperson not only coming here to be able to eulogize the late Lawrence Sifuna and take the opportunity to castigate policies of a government which he really advocates for. I want to hear him proceeding further and questioning every single decision, so that when the Lord decides to call us and we all go, someone will sit there and say, yes, he did this and this. Otherwise, we will not be remembered. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the great people of Elgeyo Marakwet County, I want to take this opportunity to convey there and my sincere condolences to the family of late Lawrence Simiyu Sifuna, whom I knew while I was in school reading about him. And recently I came to know that he's a relative to my colleague, who is also a member of the Energy Committee, Edwin Sifuna. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Honorable Speaker, during the time of Lawrence, when they were in Parliament, including Chelagat Mutai and the others, they did great work for this country. And I don't know what has happened to us of late. Both sides of the aisle, Honorable Speaker, the minority and the majority, we actually get directions from elsewhere. Let's not cheat ourselves. The reason why the other side are speaking this way, it is because it's very easy to speak when you're in the opposition to bash the government. If they were on this side, there would be no difference. We would have done the same on the other side. Honorable Speaker, I believe the reason why the 7 bearded sisters, as Kalwale said, Jalagat Mutai was among them. She was among the 7 and she was a lady. I think what we need to do, those days, the country was a one-party rule. I believe we need to go back there, or we go to party-less, so that we don't have to subscribe to party policies. You come to this house with your symbol and talk as Senator Elgeyo Marakwet County. You don't get instructions from everybody, because every day, including Bishop Wambua, gets instructions from elsewhere. Let me tell you, this is the truth, Honorable Speaker. I want to say the truth because...
What is the point of order, Senator Wambua?
Speaker, is it in order for Senator Kisang to impute improper motives on the person and character of the Senator of Kitui County, on a member of the clergy, by misleading this House and this nation that I receive orders from and instructions from somewhere every day? That's what he said. Can you substantiate, Mr. Speaker? Where do I receive these orders and from who?
Senator Kisang.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I know he gets instructions from the people of Kitui. Unless,
proceed.
Because the reason why he's in this house is the representatives of the people of Kitui. They would all have been here, but the house is not enough. Honorable Speaker, I think we need to reflect as a house. We need to check ourselves so that we also have independence of the house. We have the judiciary, we have the legislative, and we have the executive. I think it is time now that we need to ensure that we work as per the mandate that the Constitution gives us. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to say much. Mine is just to say we need to go back to those days of Lawrence Sifuna. We need to go to those days of Shukuku. All these people we're talking about, they died poor. But the problem that we have now as legislators, everybody's looking for money. You want to be on the list of billionaires. You want to be on which list? I don't know why. I mean, our salary should be enough. We are overpaid, actually. And if systems work properly, where we don't have to go for Harambes every day, we should be, even that salary that we have should be cut by half. And we will live on it. But because systems are not working well, basically we will have to pay school fees, we have to pay for funerals, we have to pay for all manner of issues. Maybe that is why it is becoming very difficult for us to be independent, because we expected, you want to go to this office, get a contract here, you want to look correct. And even the minority have joined the rest to look correct. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika pia kwa kunipa fursa hii kuomboleza mwenda zake Lawrence Sifuna ambaye alihudumu kama mbunge katika bunge la kitaifa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kifo cha mwenda zake Sifuna kimeipokonya nchi hii baadhi ya viongozi wa ukombozi wa pili ambao walijitolea kihali na mali kuhakikisha kwamba tunapata ukombozi wa pili ambao ulikuwa ni ukombozi ambao sote sasa tunaweza kujivunia. Mheshimiwa Spika, kujitolea kwake na wale wengine ambao walipigania ukombozi wa pili akiwemo Baba Raila Amolo Odinga na wengineo ni ushahidi kutosha kwamba wale ambao wamepigania hii nchi wameweza kuipeleka nchi mbele, na kwa sasa tunajivunia kwa demokrasia ambayo tuko nayo nchi yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo la kusikitisha ni kwamba yale yote ambayo yameweza kupatikana katika ukombozi wa pili, tunaona kwamba katika hali tulionao sasa yote yanaanza kudidimia. Tumeona hivi majuzi Mheshimiwa Spika, baadhi ya rasilimali za nchi kama vile jumba la mikutano la KICC, shirika la Kenya Pipeline na mengineo, Mheshimiwa Spika, yamewekwa kwenye mnada kuuzwa ili atiyasemekana kutasaidia kupunguza madeni ambayo nchi hii iko nayo. Mheshimiwa Spika, pale mashirika haya yalipoundwa ilikuwa kuna umuhimu na kuna dharura ya kuwa na mashirika kama haya. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa mfano Kenya Pipeline Corporation ambayo imeanza pale Jomvu Scope, Mheshimiwa Spika, karibu na nyumbani kwetu, ni shirika ambalo limechangia pakubwa kupunguza gharama ya mafuta katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa sababu mafuta yanapelekwa na pipeline kutoka Mombasa mpaka Nairobi mpaka Western Eldoret, alafu yanavukishwa nchi ambayo ni rahisi zaidi kuliko kutumia magari kuyatoa Mombasa mpaka Eldoret, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo shirika kama hili ambalo lina kazi muhimu ya kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba bei zetu za mafuta hazikurupuki tukashindwa kulipa, likipelekwa katika mikono ya watu binafsi, Mheshimiwa Spika, itakuwa ni hasara kwa nchi. Kwa sababu ni ile ambao huduma ambayo inatoa shirika hili ni huduma ambayo ikipeanwa katika mikono ya kibinafsi, Mheshimiwa Spika, itakuwa sisi wananchi hatuna uwezo wa kuweza kujua kitu gani kinachoendelea na vile vile bei ambazo zinawekwa pale. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo lingine la kusikitisha pia ni kwamba majuzi shirika la Kenya Petroleum Refineries ambalo pia liko Magongo, Mombasa, lilipelekwa likawekwa pamoja na shirika la Kenya Pipeline Company Limited. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama pipeline ilikuwa yauzwa, kwa nini wakafanya haraka ya kuliunganisha na shirika la Kenya Petroleum Refineries? Wakati refineries, Mheshimiwa Spika, kutoka isimamishwa mwaka 2013 mpaka sasa bado, Mheshimiwa Spika, inaendelea kufanya kazi ya kustore mafuta na wanapata faida ambao faida ile inakwenda kwa serikali. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, tunapoomboleza hayati Sifuna, sisi ambao tuko uongozini sasa, sisi ambao tunawakilisha wananchi wetu hivi sasa, ni lazima Mheshimiwa Spika tuwe mstari wa mbele kulinda maslahi ya nchi, maslahi ya wananchi ambao wametuchagua, Mheshimiwa Spika. Hatuwezi kufanya hivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, ikiwa sisi tutaangalia maslahi ya kibinafsi. Na nimefurahi hapa, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwamba Mheshimiwa Chute, Mheshimiwa Matinga wameweza kuona ukweli sasa, na wanaendelea polepole kuweza kuokoka, na Mwenyezi Mungu atawasaidia waweze kuokoka na hili lindi ambalo limetanda usoni mwao. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
I think, Honorable Senators, we will terminate at that point and will allow Senator Edwin Sifuna to speak last on this matter.
Mr. Speaker, let me say thank you very much to Senator Boni Khalwale for bringing this statement, and to all my colleagues senators who have spoken in very glowing terms about the late Lawrence Sifuna. On behalf of our entire family, I want to say thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for also allowing colleagues to mourn this great gentleman. Mr. Speaker, as Honorable Khalwale will bear me witness, there is no Luya word for your paternal uncles. There is a Luya word for your mother's brother, but there is no Luya word for your father's brother. We just call them our father. And that is why many people in the country assume naturally that Lawrence Sifuna was my dad. In the family that my father comes from, there were 5 boys, and my father follows the late Lawrence Sifuna. Mr. Speaker, his public exploits are things that people can speak about the whole day. For us, really, we remember him for the things that he taught us at a private and personal level. Mr. Speaker, there's something he used to keep telling us all the time. The first one was that a good name is better than riches. That in fact, Mr. Speaker, we have a responsibility to put the reputation of the name or the name that you bear before anything else. And in fact, as somebody has spoken to here, many of the members of parliament who were elected in the 70s, in the 80s, those people are not rich people. And he used to say this every time, because sometimes we see some jokes and memes on social media where you see children asking their parents, when people were grabbing land on Mombasa Road, when it was still a field, where were you? You know? But not everybody is wired like that. And that name, Sifuna, was brought to the national and international prominence by none other than Lawrence. And it has opened doors for many of us. I think anybody who bears that name, including myself, have seen the benefit of having such a powerful and clean name. It has opened doors for me. I doubt that my path to leadership would have been as easy as it has been if I bore another name other than Sifuna, because everywhere I went in this republic, the moment you mentioned your name, they would ask you if you are related to Lawrence, because that is the guy that he was. He also used to tell us that it's only an open arm that receives things. That in fact, if you receive things and you clench your fist all the time, you don't want to share it with people, you are preventing other things from coming into that same hand. So that you need to be generous with the little that you have. And he was generous to a fault. He would deny himself things. All of us in our family, from his brothers to us, his children and his nephews and his nieces, he took us to school. He had a part in our education. All of us. Nobody who carries that name can say they didn't pass through the hands of Lawrence Sifuna. He liked good things, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say here, he's the one who introduced me to whiskey. Mr. Speaker, for some reason, he believed that a certain brand of whiskey called Bond 7 was the best whiskey in the world. I don't know why. And he used to drink it with hot water and lime. And for many years, that is how I drank my whiskey, because he could actually make you believe that this is the best whiskey in the world, from just describing it. And attending some of his speeches on the podium, it's just that those days we didn't have the sort of filming equipment and TV cameras everywhere like we do now. Uncle Lawrence would move a crowd. And you as politicians know, like when you're speaking, you can tell when you have the people. You can tell when you have captured the imagination. We would leave those rallies, Mr. Speaker, convinced that he was going to win the election. In 1988, I was only 6 years old, Khalwale. I was living in Kitinda village, my grandmother's house was. And the reason I remember knowing that Lawrence had lost the election in 88 is people just came back wailing. You know, it's as if something or somebody had died. So I remember my grandmother just crying and saying, oh, we have lost the election, this has happened. And the reason Uncle Lawrence was rigged out in 88 is because although he was elected in 79 on a KANU ticket, he used to speak truth to power. When things were not as right as they should be, he used to stand up, the way Senator Wamatinga has done today, and say that this is something that he would not support. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank all of you for the kind words that you have sent. In fact, one of the other things is that he used to tell us cleanliness is next to godliness. And he insisted on cleanliness of body and mind. Mr. Speaker, there's no way, like the way I'm looking right now, I could not go and see Uncle Lawrence. You have to pass by a barber. And of course, Senator Olekina would be kicked out at the gates. Because that hairstyle on his head, he used to wake up every morning to brush that hair so that it looks as neat as it looks, Mr. Speaker. He really believed that we needed to be presentable all the time. In fact, when I went to Eldoret to collect his body, it was the first time in my life when I saw my uncle unshaven. He used to wake up every morning and he would be clean shaven every time. And he used to insist on that. So I want to take this opportunity to thank members of the House for all your condolences. If you are able to join us on the 16th in Bungoma, we'll be laying him to rest. But up to now, I want to appreciate every single person in the country and even those outside the country who have sent us messages of condolences. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Before we move to the remaining statements, allow me to make the following communication. I'd like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation from the County Assembly of Turkana. The delegation comprises 8 members and 5 officers of the Committee on Delegated Legislation who are on a benchmarking visit with a counterpart in the Senate. Now, honorable senators, I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that they may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. The Honorable Philip Ekiwam, the Deputy Speaker. Honorable Mary Arupe Nakapwan. The Honorable Julius Edung Apron. Honorable Aliwo Samuel. Honorable Anaklet Lemuya, Honorable Michael Apem, Honorable Francis Ngimusia, Honorable Martha Nami, Mr. Kevin Brown, Ms. Rhoda Tia Atabo, Ms. Kennedy Lorot, Mr. Makede Mark Lomandang, and lastly, Mr. Justus Ajore. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit. Also, I wish to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation from the Kenya National Union of Teachers, NAT, Nandi County branch. The delegation comprises 18 members who are in the Senate for a one-day visit. Honorable Senators, on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to them and wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Turkana under 1 minute to extend some words of welcome, to welcome the delegation from Turkana. And I thought I had seen the Senator for Nandi. Under 1 minute also to extend words of welcome to welcome the NAT delegation in that order. Kindly proceed, Senator Lomé.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join you in inviting MCS, Honorable MCS from Turkana County. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I know we were in Turkana County for Senate Mashinani, and I know, Mr. Speaker, they have appreciated what we did for visiting, hosting Senate Mashinani in Turkana County. Turkana County, Mr. Speaker, is a cradle on mankind. All who are seated here, we originated from Turkana. So, as we prepare for December festive, remember to go to Turkana to identify yourself there as the cradle of mankind. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable MCAs are committed in their legislative agenda. Remember, Mr. Speaker, sir, I also want to inform you that whatever we do, God remembers, records what we say. Mr. Speaker, Turkana is a save of oil. The cost of living that is high now, I know in 10 years coming, the cost of living will be low. I know, Mr. Speaker, the renewable oil, the renewable energy that we have been praying for. The renewable energy, Mr. Speaker, is rich in Turkana. Solar energy, wind energy, Mr. Speaker, and also the wind. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we suffer this time, I know 10 years coming, God will return to Turkana County, and the Turkana County will improve the economy of Kenya. We will stop being supplied with yellow maize. God will remember us, Mr. Speaker, that one time thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want us to say, as I finish, Turkana County is a first county, and it is 77,000 kilometers square. Madam Speaker, the members, honorable members who are here, I have a lot of respect for them because they changed my position. They changed my title. I was an MCA. They changed that one to be a member of a National Assembly. They changed that one again. Madam Speaker, they gave me another title, new title now, that called a Senate. And I know, Madam Speaker,
Senator Matthew must allow the senator to continue with the journey and express the dream he has on what the people will make him.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. What I wanted to say, that the honorable members who have visited us, I want to thank them. Secondly, I want to give them encouragement that the words say, everything in this world changes. Even the truth changes one time. Yes, truth will change one time. And false will also change one time. So what I say, they will never remain the same. After 5 years, they will have different titles. They will be in several levels, not the levels they have now. So what I say, Madam Speaker, I seek for support. Madam Speaker.
Please wind up.
Thank you. What I say, Madam Speaker, it is important to learn from the Senate. This is the upper house. So I want to say, to talk to my honorable members who are in the house, that as you visit this house, learn more, and then I go back home, you teach the other people what you are supposed to say. Madam Speaker.
Senators, can we consult in low tones? Senator
Madam Speaker, as I finish,
Senator Boni and Senator Enoch, you're about to be ruled to be out of order.
Thank you, Madam
Speaker.
Speaker.
Cannot consult like that in the House.
Madam Speaker, I finish. As we go for recess on 7th, I want this House to remember this. Northern Kenya, especially Turkana County, is very insecure. People are dying almost every week. People lose life. So what I wanted to say, as we go for recess, the government of Kenya must remember that the bandits...
Hold it, Senator Lomenen. What is your point of order, Senator Kenywa?
Madam Speaker, I heard the good Senator Lemonen from Turkana saying that the truth changes, and he quoted a certain book. And I don't know what book is that, because, Madam Speaker, what I know, the truth does not change. Even if you bury, it will come out as truth, Madam Speaker. So I don't know which book he quoted. I would want that book so that I can refer to that book. And what he's saying about banditry, that I support him 100%, because we go through that in Laikipia. I support him. But on the truth, Madam Speaker, let him clarify.
Madam Speaker,
Senator Romenen, which book are you quoting?
I did not quote any book, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kenywa, can you be more attentive when the senator
Yes, exactly.
is
I just
debating?
No. I said, Madam
As
Speaker.
clarified, he did not quote a book.
I said, Madam Speaker, this world is dynamic.
Proceed.
This world is dynamic. And I say, Madam Speaker, everything that we do in this world is recorded somewhere. And one time it will be retrieved. I said also, Madam Speaker, that we will be going for recess. And what I request the government and this Senate, our people in Northern are suffering, and the bandits are not aware of the recess, and they will never go for recess. When you go for recess, they will be killing our people, they will be taking our property. So let the government be aware that as we go for recess, the bandits, the terrorism, the Al-Shabaab are not going for recess. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Romenen, you should not speak with such confidence that when you go for recess, the bandits will be killing the people, unless you have proof to that effect. Senator Betty, you have a statement? Cherarige? Oh, Senator Cherarige, before Senator Betty. Senator Betty, resume your seat for a minute. Senator Cherarige was to welcome the delegates from Nandi County.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. From the onset, I want to join you and on behalf of the Senate to welcome the Kenya National Union of Teachers, Nandi branch, to this August House. And I know all of them by name and where they come from, Nandi, basically. I'm happy they have come where they need support. Madam Speaker, I join in welcoming them and wish them well as they do what they have to do. They are also working. I'm happy and I want to congratulate them. I'm told they have gotten a new first vice chair. Unfortunately, we lost one in Kericho who used to represent them at the Kenya National Union of Teachers. Madam Speaker, quickly on one or two issues that I want to mention is that the issue of JSS interns. As we talk, we had the CEO of TAC, and Madam Nandi Masharia, Madam Speaker, was grappling because we asked her what will happen with the interns at the expiry of 31st. And yet we want those interns that are on contract teachers must be observed immediately under permanent and pensionable PNP, Madam Speaker. So we don't need, and I think as Parliament, we have appropriated enough resources to TAC to ensure JSS interns and teachers on contracts, Madam Speaker, are also being able to be given opportunity to be on permanent pensionable.
Senator can you confine your comments to welcoming the delegation?
Madam Speaker, you didn't guide Senator Lomenen. It is still within the purview, and these are teachers. Number two, Madam Speaker, because I mentioned they are teachers and they are lucky. Madam Speaker, number two, Madam Speaker, number two is on the issue of presidential working party reforms. Madam Speaker, I want to call upon the NATS, Kenya National Union of Teachers, to be part of the conversation, Madam Speaker, especially on the issue of presidential working education reforms. I know as we talk, Madam Speaker,
please do not turn this into
I think as we talk about is the issue of CBC, Madam Speaker, Kenya National Union of Teachers have a critical role to play. Article 41, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, but it's not on record. It's not unanswered.
You have not given him an opportunity.
Yeah, to speak.
Clerk. Ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
The Senate is currently on a quorum bell. This quorum bell was necessitated by the fact that the House at some point after the commencement of business lacked quorum, and the Speaker directed that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes for members of the Senate to make their way back into the chamber to allow for consideration of further business before the Senate this afternoon. On your screens is the Senate proceedings, and we await to see if senators will be making their way into the chamber this afternoon, and if indeed that pertinent quorum will be reached and attained for that matter. And if not, we are going to await further directives by the Speaker. Currently, Senator Veronica Maina is the Speaker presiding over the business of the Senate this afternoon. And to just take you through some of the issues for consideration by senators this afternoon is the Tea Amendment Bill, as well as the Equalization Fund Appropriations Bill and the County Licensing Uniform Procedure Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of the year 2022. Various senators were speaking to the motion on the declaration of cattle rustling as a national disaster and establishment of a special fund for victims. This is a motion spearheaded by the Senator for Baringo County, Senator William Cheptumo, and senators who were calling for the address of this particular issue, claiming it has become very rampant in the northern parts of the country, as well as in among pastoralist communities in various regions in the country. This afternoon session of the Senate was for the better part of the first hour dominated by the condolence messages for a former late member of parliament, and senators have been, so to speak, sending their condolences to the family of the late Sifuna, known Lawrence Sifuna, who happens to be the uncle for the Nairobi Senator, Senator Edwin Sifuna. Given key priority in the Senate business this afternoon, the chair is speaking. Allow me to hand you over.
Having rang the bell pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 42, the Senate stands adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, 6 December 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Speaker Veronica Maina, currently who was just about a minute ago presiding over the business of the Senate, has ordered that the Senate sittings be adjourned until next time when the Senate will be sitting, that is tomorrow morning, owing to the fact that the House has lacked the numbers to proceed with business this afternoon. Remember, the notification of a lack of quorum was done by the Senator from Mombasa County, Senator Mohamed Faki, who notified the House that at the time the Senate did not have the requisite number of senators to continue with business. That is the latest from the proceedings of the National Assembly as well as the Senate this afternoon. Allow me to hand you over back to our broadcasting house for the normal programming. Enjoy your viewing.